Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Lynn Lester, Managing Director of Events here at The Drum. And today I am joined by the amazing drum band, or should we say the Drum Can Do Collective, however we want to position them. Now for anyone that doesn't know who these guys are, we basically tasked them with a really big challenge to put together a remote band to perform during the Can Do Festival. And boy, did they pull it off. It was pretty damn awesome, if I do say so myself. Now, we are missing a couple of people. So we don't have Gina, who is currently in Singapore, and she was backing vocals. And we also have James, who's not here. He was on drums. So hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
So the idea of this chat is really to give people a bit of a behind the scenes action of kind of what really went on. So before we do that, it might be really cool to just tell everybody who you are, what you do, what you played, what part you played in the band, and also if you can give me one word to describe your experience. So I'm going to start with you, Charles.
Yes, so I'm Charles Briens. I work for Ogury. I'm based in London. I'm French, you can notice with the accent, but I'm based in London. Just back to France just for a little bit, see the family during this end of lockdown period. And I'm the saxophonist of the band. And if I could use one word, I mean, I just can say amazing or just wow. W-O-W. Yeah, I would use.
Awesome. And James?
Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. James, founder, CEO of Scoota. And I thought the whole thing was hilarious in a positive way, in that it gave me an opportunity to dust off some old guitars that hadn't seen the light of day for a long time. Try and remember which finger went where, which was also hilarious. But also trying to pull it together with zero time, because we were all very busy doing other things, and making that work was the most interesting thing. But it was just great. It was just such a lovely thing to be doing. It was different, it was exciting, and it was great fun.
Amazing. And Ella?
I'm mute because I've got some kittens going wild down here. So I'm Ella Kerr-McCutcheon. I work at JCDecaux on programmatic strategy, and I was doing vocals. It was really interesting, in terms of the task. My dad's a musician, so I kind of knew through him that people were sort of doing this kind of thing. He's done a few kind of Zoom sessions and things, so I was quite interested to to get involved. And it was tough. I'm not gonna lie, it was tough. I think I've used to recording with bands, and you go in and you get that opportunity to all kind of mess about and listen to sounds and pitching and keys and stuff like that, and not having to do that all on my own was really hard. I mean, I've never recorded myself before, so I've had to kind of try and find platforms to do that. How do you send it? How do you kind of a myriad of all these different challenges that if you're not used to kind of on the production side of things, you have to learn some new skills. So I definitely, it was a challenge, but I do feel like I've come out with some new skills now, so it's good.
Andy?
Yeah, so I'm Andy Dougan. I'm a global business partner at Geometry, and I was looking after keys and keyboards, and with a combination along with James and Lydia and Crystal, we got quite heavily involved in sort of pulling the tracks together and trying to build them. And I think my word would be, I was either going to say enlightening or transformative, because very much like James was saying, we all had an expectation that we had this ambition of it being pure play live. And there are components of it that are live. I would still say that, some things were taken in one take and that aspect of it. But it was really, to your point, Ella, learning on the fly how some things weren't going to work. And we're all used to, like, with our own bands playing live and recording in studios and things. And it had to completely reconfigure how we do that. Adding the drums at the end is one thing that I've never had that before. Usually that's the beat that you set to, and then practice along. So I think we had to do quite a bit of post-editing to get that right. So yeah, transformative, because likewise, I've learned a load of new things and see the new skill sets, and yeah, definitely transformative experience.
Lydia?
Hello, I'm Lydia. I'm business owner at Thinktechniq. And I guess I'm based in Singapore. So I guess one word that I would describe, I'm torn between crazy and special. Maybe it's a mixture of both. I think it's awesome to be part of this. Like, it's so international. It's different from, like, I've been involved in studio recordings before, but it's always like we're all in one place, right? And this is the first time we're all in different places, in different continents, and doing this recording. That's one aspect. The second aspect, that we managed to pull this together in such short time, was just crazy. And the fact that we were not physically together was like, how do we get this done to a certain standard that we won't be embarrassed doing it, right? And we have Katie, together with us, so obviously we need to live up to a certain standard. We're not just like throwing things together, right? So I think the process of getting it to sound good, but at the same time, like, how are we going to do it without physically being together in one space where we could communicate, was really crazy but special. And I think maybe it opened my eyes to see like what was possible through this digital kind of collaboration. And with some tweaks, we could possibly make this actually work, even like for a long term, not just for a once-off thing. Yeah, so it's pretty amazing what we managed to achieve together, and it really sounded good. Like, yeah, I'm amazed, like what Katie said, like, that energy that came out was something different. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, good. I'm glad we surprised. I'm glad you surprised yourself. Katie.
I'm Katie Melua, and I'm a musician. I've made 8 studio albums, and I've actually spent the last 3 years working on the one that we're just about to release. And this was the amazing thing about this project, because usually when you make a record, a lot of us have touched upon it, you finesse every single detail and you allow yourself the time to do that. But with this project, it was actually so liberating to do it so quickly. And I kind of, at first you think, that goes against your instincts, and you think, I don't know if this is going to work or if this is going to be good. But, we did the very initial demo of just my very rough acoustic guitar and voice. And then I sent it to Andy, and Andy sent a version back, and he'd, put beautiful keys on it and beautiful sax. And we discussed the fact that it should maybe have a bit more of that raw energy of the original, because the original is so kind of strong, and I have a very sort of like pretty voice. Mm-hmm. And when the version finally came back, I was blown away. I closed my eyes and I was thinking, I feel like I could be listening to like the White Stripes or something. Like, it was so great. So I was like, okay, well, I better step up to this now. And yeah, I loved it. I had so much fun. So yeah, just I guess shocking is the word I'd use.
Good. Well, hopefully shockingly good. I mean, if I'm being honest, you guys did sort of tap into my social experiment. So when I obviously approached you individually, through whether it be through contacts that I had or if I knew you directly, but James, like, did you think it was ever going to work? Truthfully.
Yeah, I think I probably felt I'm generally glass half full about everything, and I think the last time I played was in 2016. We did a Christmas band with work, and that was, we put 8 songs together in 4 days or something like that, 5 days. And at the time I thought, this isn't going to work, but it did work. And actually the playing wasn't so much the problem. It was then fitting well, certainly in my case, fitting what I played to the video, because for the Dua Lipa track, I pretty much improvised that solo because I had, no time to get it down. So I dropped that down, and then it was we've got a video and make it look convincing. So then I had to learn the bloody thing, which, and so it was a bit like that. But no, I mean, I think as soon as we'd kicked the thing off, and once the tunes started to circulate, and then there was a sense that, yeah, this will come together. It was going to, as Andy suggested, it was, adding the drums at the end is a challenging thing, because you get, trying to align everything is difficult. But once that started to sound right, then yeah, I think it was clear that it was going to sound okay, and it was good.
Brilliant. And how did you choose the songs? Charles, do you want to talk us through that? I mean, you've all got different tastes in music, so how did you navigate it?
Sorry, I didn't catch it. I think I have a bad connection right now, so just I'm missing a few words. Yeah, but I heard what James was saying, about the solo. I had the same issue with the sax, because I improvise everything, and when I was making the video, I thought that I would not have been able to make it, to be fair, because it was so hard, so I was listening to myself and at the same time, playing at the same time and trying to have put the right key. And sometimes I was watching the video again after that and seeing that the fingers were not fitting, so I had to do it again. And until the last day, I was such in a rush, because you had to juggle between work and making music, and that was a tough week. I don't know about you guys, but I was exhausted at the end of the week. I was dead. But I'm so happy about the final result. So yes, sorry, Lynn, what was your question?
Yeah, well, your answer was much better to my question anyway. But no, my question.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, who wants to pick this up? How did you narrow down the songs that you were going to choose, or that you chose in the end?
I think it was Ella, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Ella.
I think it was between me and Gina of kind of the songs, and I think it was we sort of had lists. Everyone wrote a list of sort of 10 songs of what they liked, and we sort of tried to tease out the similarities in everyone's list. I think yours, Andy, was very heavily on the 80s side, so I think that's where the bits came from. And then I think a few people have picked Dua Lipa, kind of a couple of songs, so we sort of decided on that. Which at first I was a little bit like, because she's a tough. With Dua Lipa, she's got very distinctive. It's a bit like you, Katie. So you've got voices that are really distinctive. As a singer, I tend to stay away from that, because you sort of everyone's always going to have that sound in their head. But I think at first I was a little bit skeptical especially with up tempo, not having studio and not having that kind of that time to kind of mix. But I think in the end, halfway through, I was a bit like, oh, is this going to come together? But it really did. It really did in the end. And I think originally we I think someone said, oh, let's do 5 songs. But I think the fact that we got to 3 was pretty, in this short space of time, I think was good.
Amazing. And obviously, so you chose your 3 songs, and then we approached you, Katie, and said, right, do you want to be part of this? Which you were, I think you're just so unlike other artists, because you were like, yeah, I do. And I did at the time, although I certainly didn't want to put you off. I thought at the time, oh my God, how can you trust me, and how can you trust these people when you've never met them? You don't know how good they are, and you're a worldwide well-known artist. Like, what was going through your head? Were you worried, or did you just trust it, or what?
Well, Lynn, let's put it in context. It's not like you randomly rang me up. You got in touch with my management, Sumit Bothra from ATC. And me and Sumit have been working for 6 years together, and we have a really good rapport, and we trust each other. So, this project came through Sumit, and then I guess it was the guts of it that I loved about it. We've never had a request like this. And also because of what's happened now around the world, everyone is going through this global issue, like everyone is going through it. So it feels like a bit of a restart and a fresh way to look at things. So I don't know, you gotta experiment.
Yeah, no, well, it's thanks to Sumit then for trusting us, and then you to trust us. So, thank you. And then the process. So Andy, you might want to talk us through this. How did you then? You've agreed to do it. You've all put your faith. As Lydia says, you don't want to look ridiculous. You want it to be really good. How did you then bring all the music together once you decided what you were going to do?
Well, it's ended up very different from how we initially planned it, which is, you know, James has picked up on that, and Ella. It's not just how a band would normally create together and how you decide what tracks you're going to do, and when you're writing your own music, how that manifests, but it's also about how we actually recorded it. So originally the intention was it's a live performance, and it's made me reassess some of the things that I've seen out there. You know, there's been some really good stuff like the Blossoms have been doing at home in isolation. They've been doing brilliant covers, but now looking at it, I thought they were live. I'm realizing that they weren't live. It's impossible with the quality that they've done and stitching together to have done it purely live. They might have recorded live, but there's things like latency, depending on people's Wi-Fi, depending on even things like the earphones. If you're listening through these things, through wireless Bluetooth headphones, as you're hearing the track, there's a delay between you playing the music going into it. So there are platforms out there. There's one called Jam Kazan, which my band's been trying to use unsuccessfully. But there's still a latency. So as I'm hearing something from the drummer, I'm getting a microsecond delay before I play, and that adds on another microsecond. Before you know it, you're out of time by second to 2 seconds. So we realized quite quickly that it wasn't going to work that way. What we've tried to do is, in terms of the authenticity of the live, probably the most live feel is the one from Katie, because we had a guide track, Katie singing with the rhythm guitar, and then we built around that. The initial laydown of the piano and organ was live, was both one take in each of those. So essentially, you're playing live back. So it's the same principle as karaoke, essentially. You know, whereas a studio is pieced together bit by bit by bit, which is where you get the studio quality. So I think we've got a hybrid. I think we've got half live, half studio. It's kind of a bit of both. And what we then use is the technology at the end to align and make sure that it has the right quality again. So it did transform, and we all had different styles. As we were all saying, drums at the end is usually you'd be in the studio and you might have the vocal with the drum and get the beat down and get the beat 100% right with the bass. So you've got that, you know, those kicking together, and then it just makes it easier to record to. But we had to revisit that. So yeah, I think it's a hybrid that we've ended up, a hybrid live performance.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then obviously we got the help of Crystal in Singapore. Crystal's here, she became an honorary member. So Lydia, you want to talk us through, because you were the one that got in touch with Crystal.
Sure, yeah. So I roped in the help of my friend Crystal, because it was obvious at this point we were like days to the performance, and we really needed to focus on our own parts. Like we had to play, right? We had to record video, we had to do all these things, and we couldn't also like be trying to line up all the music in the software at the same time, and we had day jobs, right? And we have some of us have kids, so it was just crazy. So I said, hey Crystal, could you please help with music editing? And it so happens that she's a drummer, right? So then it all made sense, because she was perfect person to help line up all the timing of like all the different tracks that we were playing, and get it all synchronized so that, you know, we don't miss a beat. And this is this is so crucial, right? Like when we're piecing all the tracks together so that we don't sound like we're a bit off. I mean, if we're all together in the same room, we would definitely know, like, oh, okay, guys, like we're out of time, right? But since we're all stitching it together, so I really appreciated, like, you know, Crystal's help in getting us to sound tight on the recording itself. And the process was just crazy. So it was like us throwing tracks at her, and she's piecing this together. And then we have some changes in the tracks that we wanted to do. And then it was like this back and forth thing. So yeah, pretty thankful she doesn't sleep much. and then we actually got her to, you know, help us get to that point.
Yeah, so good, because I mean, I think I gave you all a deadline of Tuesday, and Friday we were still editing. So there you go. Welcome to the world of the publishing.
Yeah.
I mean, this all sounds great, and everyone's probably like, oh my God, so cool. But Ella, do you think there were any challenges that you didn't know were going to crop up that you know, with hindsight, you might have done differently?
I think it's just working out who's doing what. I think that's the hard part, I think. And everybody's sort of, you know, whereas normally you'd approach a project and it'd be like the deadlines. That's what I was, because I think there's one bit where I was sort of waiting, like I normally did when I was previously recorded with a band, where I just wait until the track was ready, and then you'd go in and you do your vocals. But so I was kind of waiting for that, and then that was I realised it's like, oh no, I was actually supposed to just be singing the vocals. And I was like, but how? I haven't got the finished track. So it's a lot of just going into sound. Spotify I've discovered they've got a sort of recording platform which is actually quite good, that I'm going to investigate a little bit more, and it's very simplified, because I think I tried GarageBand and I was just like, this is too much. I don't know what's going on here, like I can't. And then Spotify sound track is just so easy, it's literally just like press record and then you do it. So that's, I think that was the sort of the challenge was for me, is sort of like knowing, I think Lydia, you set up the project management platform, which I think some of us were using, some of us weren't using it. So I think if we did it again, maybe just be really clear with, with that platform and kind of setting, right, this is when you're supposed to do this by, and then, I think at the moment it was a long email thread, and sometimes I was kind of going, right, well, that was from then and this, and it was kind of, it was a little bit difficult to sort of muddle through, but that's, I think that's the nature of it, isn't it? I think if we were to do something again, we'd probably right, this is the deadline, or this is when we're going to do this track, and this is who's doing this and who's doing what, and everyone sort of knows where they're going, rather than this sort of mishmash. It's so great.
Yeah, it reminds me of working in a newsroom years ago when I was 19 years old, and it almost felt that buzz again, even on a event day. It's like, oh my God, we need to do this, and we get a deadline, and it's just, I don't think there's anything better ever, but there was tension, there was stress, occasional conflict, but actually together you guys totally blew out the water. Do you think there's learnings that you can take from that you can then put into business, whether it be your own business, whether it be working with colleagues? Because, we're obviously in a connected world. Lydia, you're in a different time zone, but, you're having to work with people through technology, and it's just not the way it was. I mean, James, what do you think? Do you think there's learnings for business here?
Yeah, I do. And again, I think it distills down to the whole idea of what the festival is for, which is the can-do, and that this idea that if you believe in it enough, you can make it happen. I think, COVID's been massively challenging for lots of businesses. My business has had a real kneecapping from it, and it is difficult sometimes just to keep the momentum and keep pushing forward. And a project like this, where you don't have any time, and you're coming into it cold, you have no idea what's going on until you get closer to it and deadline rushes towards you, and the only way you're going to do it is by believing enough in it as an entity, and that you want to see it through. And therefore, we talked to Charles today, he was knackered at the end of the week. I think I've got a challenging toddler at the moment who likes to keep me awake. And I think one night I probably had 2 hours sleep, and in fact that was the night before the video, and I could barely walk, let alone try and remember what I played. But for me, for business, it's a similar thing. I mean, it's rather than seeing it as a mountain that's unscalable, you see it as components, and you've just got to tackle each of those components, and then eventually you arrive in a position where you've succeeded. And I think it's very similar. I think you can draw a lot of parallels between what we were attempting to do and certainly starting a business or managing a business through something like COVID.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, I think the world is definitely changing, and I mentioned before in the interview with you, Katie, that a lot of brands are starting to move faster now. I think it's a cooperative that they basically put out a campaign within a week, and whereas they would have months to do that normally. So really sort of tying it up then, Katie, do you think the experiment that we all went through? I mean, I say me, I didn't do anything, I just got great people. You guys did all the work. But do you think that the music business will change as a consequence of this? The fact you've got technology, you can do things differently. Yeah, do you think it's going to change how albums or singles might be brought together into life?
Yeah, I mean, the music business has had a huge issue with the live side of things. That's kind of a big part of a lot of people's income, and it's just been suddenly evaporated. We have to look to projects like this as examples of, okay, how can we innovate? How can we do something differently? What I particularly loved about this project, and that I think I will learn from it, is once the decision was made to do it, it was like, okay, you have time to second guess everyone's abilities or people's experiences. Like, just, you're committed, this is your team, give it your all and trust them. And I like that, you know, and it actually showed that, you know, that does work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, guys, you were amazing. For anyone that's not seen it, tune in, because you will not be disappointed. But I've got a final question to ask you. Would you do it again? Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to do it,
Sure.
but you never know. Maybe you'll play live at some drum event soon. All right, thank you so much to everyone for tuning in, and say please listen to the track.